G'day, I'm Barry with another Hanson Handy tip. Today I'd like to talk about which valve, tank or trough to use in which situation. Obviously this valve, the leveler valve, is a dual level valve, so it's basically a tank valve. This valve, the max flow, is both trough and tank because of the high flow, so if you don't need a dual level then this valve will do a tank as well. And the superflow valve is basically a trough valve. The superflow valve, just to give you an idea, 300 cow herd requires approximately 90 litres a minute. This valve will do that at about 5 psi. The max flow valve, 600 cow herd, approximately 180 litres a minute. This valve will do that at 5 psi. This valve is a top, side and bottom entry, and the superflow valve is a top and side entry. For any more information you can visit our website hansonproducts.co.nz.
Sir Henry van der Heyden was chairman of the FONTERRA board from 2002 until he stepped down as chairman in December 2012. We caught up with Sir Henry at FONTERRA HQ in Auckland to discuss governance and his thoughts on the future of the dairy business in New Zealand.
So Henry, as chair of the Government's Development Committee, how important is it for dairy farmers to get more involved in their industry?
Oh, it's absolutely fundamental, Glenys, but I'll start off by actually saying FONTERRA, the co-op, we are successful, and we're a growing business, becoming more and more important to New Zealand, more and more impact on the global marketplace. So for FONTERRA to be successful, the strength of the governance is absolutely fundamental. So the Governance Development Program is a program that starts by identifying people that may want to be governors for FONTERRA, but only not for FONTERRA, but also the rural community. So we're trying to identify as many farmers as possible and then encouraging them to actually go into a program to be part of the governance development program, so they actually start developing governance skills so they may become an option for FONTERRA or other cooperatives in the rural sector in New Zealand.
How did you get involved in governance roles in the industry to begin with?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I look back, I was probably lucky. I was relatively young, I was mid-30s, and I just went straight into a relatively big governance position when I got elected onto the New Zealand Dairy Group board. So I was relatively lucky. I think that's virtually impossible today, but it actually starts with a passion for the industry, passion for dairy farming, and also wanting to actually create something. So I've been in governance roles now for 20 years, so I've got a relatively nice amount of experience. But I think it is actually about starting young and really actually committing to the industry and to the cooperative.
For farmers looking at taking that sort of step up today, as you did, there are a lot more resources available to them, aren't there? Oh
yes there are. Like, you just take the governance development program that FONTERRA is actually running. There are a lot of IOD courses. The IOD actually run regional IOD courses, so there's lots of opportunity to actually develop your skill sets and to build up the knowledge if people want to go down that career path.
And people may well have other skills anyway in other areas which they've gained before they've become dairy farmers these days. So that's a big help.
Yeah, I think the quality and the capability of a board is actually diversity of view. So people that have had different experiences, when they come to the board table, they share their experiences, they share their knowledge, so consensus can be reached or judgments actually can be made. So I see that as being positive.
What about the governance review that FONTERRA is undertaking at the moment?
Okay, I actually think it's a very important review that's going on, and it really circles back to the first point I tried to make. The ultimate success of FONTERRA will be the strength of the governance and of course the strength of management. So we really need the best capable people around the board of FONTERRA. So the debate around independent directors, the number of independent directors, I think it's much wider than that. It's actually about having the right skill sets and the right capabilities. So I think that's an important part, but also I think actually strengthening up the representation, which is the key role of the shareholders. council. So those two things, they need to go hand in hand. I haven't been close to the representation review over the last 3 or 4 months since I've stepped down as chairman of Fonterra, but I just can't encourage it enough, because both governance and representation needs to be strengthened in this cooperative.
What about for some dairy farmers out there working away hard on their farm? They want nothing more than a director who they can get on the phone to, who's in their local area, who understands their problems. What do you say to them about governance and representation?
Okay, hey, well, firstly, that's a very clear example. That is representation. But many farmers, they think like that. But once again, the success of the cooperative, the success of the business will come down to how strong and how good the governance is, and it's all about creating value within the company. And value for a cooperative is always milk price and profit. So you need people with those skill sets to be able to deliver that. And many farmers say, well, look, I can run a farm, so I can be a governor of Fonterra. Now that gap is very wide. So anyone that's interested, they've got to build up the capability and the skill sets to become a governor. And also, to become a governor, you do need experience.
What about for a dairy farmer who's out there who says to their friends and family, look, I feel like I might have a go. I would really like to take more of a role in the industry. I'm passionate about dairy farming. What are your sort of tips for them in terms of making that step?
Okay, hey, firstly, if they are genuinely interested, and I take that really positively, that they actually want to be a governor, they need to put a development program in place. They need to start getting some experience and building up the capability. You know, just very simple examples. You know, it's just like the local primary school or the local high school. They are governance roles, okay? And then they need to actually build up the capability by going to courses, understanding what governance is, but also what's important is actually trying to get some experience.
What have you gained personally and professionally from your roles in Fonterra governance?
Well, firstly, I've been highly motivated by it. So the fact that I could get out of bed every morning looking forward to go to work, so that's the first thing. So a lot of motivation, and I think the opportunity that the industry has actually given me has actually helped develop me as a person, and now I can use that development in other governance roles. So I think it's been win-win for the industry, and it's been win-win for Henry van der Heyden, and not only me but also my family and the wider family.
After the break, we head back to Taranaki and Blue Reed's coastal dairy farm to talk about Fonterra and how to upskill yourself in governance roles. See you after the break.